seem easygoing, really affable type of guy. I know you're highly competitive.
Yeah.
Were there moments when you clashed with Agassi and clashed with Hewitt as well? You've talked about your clash with Simona. And so the extension of that is, I know for you the big focus hasn't always been just about tennis. You've wanted to help them evolve as people as well.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's absolutely fantastic. Some of those clashes would have been pretty heated, I would have thought.
Yeah, Andre not so much. Andre was an adult when I started with him anyway. So 32 years of age, so he was already an all-time legend. I have one story about him actually. You know, you make mistakes as you go, but the one thing that I did well was an original phone call with him was when he called me up and asked me to do the job. After a long conversation, I said yes. He called me back about 10 minutes later, and I did hear from Andre, he loves to test his people around him, whether it be his coaches or his physical trainers or the people that work for him. He fires questions, it's like a little test. And I didn't know that. And he called me back about 10 minutes after we decided to work together. And he goes, hey, I just have a question for you. What would you say about an athlete doing strength training before doing tennis training? And I thought about it for a second, because for us tennis players, it's unheard of. You do the tennis work first, and then if you have time to do the strength and training afterwards. Old school way of thinking. So for me, running around in my head, I'm thinking, no, that's not the way to do things, you know. But I knew that he does things differently, and he's had this strength and conditioning trainer for about 10 years, Gil Reyes, who'd done an incredible job with him, and I knew he was into the weight, so I didn't know. So I said to him, you know what? I would need to come over there and see the way you do things to understand why you do it the way you do it. And also I need to sit back and talk to Gil, because Gil obviously is a genius at what he does. So I need to understand what he's trying to achieve and what is best for you. So if you want an answer, I can't give you one. I would say, I don't know. And he goes, perfect answer. Because if I got anything different from that answer, I would have walked you into my gym, I would have shown you my 7 Grand Slam singles trophies and said, I'm actually doing things pretty well. I went, okay. I answered that one well. So that was a test from him to see if I was coming into the job feeling like I knew it all. And that's what he wanted to hear, is that the coach I'm about to start with doesn't know everything. Yeah,
it's really interesting, isn't it? Because we talk across the journey. My favourite saying is not one size fits all.
Yeah.
So you're of that same ilk. Yeah. I'm listening to you say, Andre Agassi calls me up and asks me to coach. It's not the average call that most of us receive. 2009, you get a call from a fellow called Roger Federer.
Yep.
He said, I wouldn't mind you coaching, and you go and spend 12 days with Rog, and then you decide not to coach him.
Yep.
The best player in the world, possibly. Yep. You've gone, thanks for the call, mate, but no, I'm not doing it. Most people would sit here and go, really? Really? You look like an intelligent bloke. Why would you make that decision?
Well, firstly, it was 12 days. I flew across to Dubai and worked with him. I knew there's a long history with Roger because of Peter Carter. And so I met Roger when he was 12 years of age. Peter was his original coach. When Leighton and Roger were coming up together, 16, 17, 18 years of age, they were great rivals. Peter and I were sitting next to each other coaching 2 of the best juniors in the world. So and then with Peter passing away, there's always been this affection and connection with Roger that I can't really describe. And so for me to look at Roger and talk to Roger, I feel Peter's personality coming out of Roger. So that was one side of it. The second side of it was, at that stage, I had 2 jobs. I had the Adidas job, where I was working 25, 30 weeks of the year, living in Vegas. Players would come into Vegas, train with me. So I was at home with the family, not having to travel that much, and also with ESPN, working as an analyst for ESPN. To work with Roger, you have to give up everything. It has to be a full-time job. You're on the road 35, 40 weeks of the year. It's a full commitment, which I was prepared to do as long as Roger believed 100% that I was the guy for him. And so at the end of the 12 days, and we made it pretty clear that at the end of the 12 days, if I'm not the guy to do the job, if you're not sold on me, it's best we don't do it. So to a point, he did offer me the gig, but more on a trial basis to continue to see how things go. Indian Wells was coming up, Miami was coming up. So he wasn't set that I was the guy. It wasn't, Darren, this has been the most unbelievable 12 days, you're the man. A little bit what Andre did to me when he called me up and said, I've watched you for the last couple of years, I like what you do, I like the way you talk to Leighton, you're the man to help me through the last part of my career. I was kind of looking for that. And with the tennis, it's not like a football job or maybe a basketball job. With tennis, you're in one week, you're out the next. So to give away everything with a maybe, to me, wasn't the right thing to do by my family. And I had a pretty good setup at that time. So I do look back at that with some regret. It's Roger Federer. not only one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time. Laver is up there for me. Nadal's up there, obviously, for me as well. But one of the great guys as well.
Wait, when you're talking about the great guys of tennis, I was really fortunate to come down for Davis Cup when it was here in Adelaide through Leighton, and got to a couple of training sessions and had the chance to sit with Tony Roach. And I have to tell you, it's the most humbling experience I reckon I've had in my life.
He could have told you some Federer stories.
Oh, he had some Federer stories, had some Ivan Lendl stories here, but he had stories about. He's just the nicest bloke I reckon I've ever met in my whole life. But what struck me, you know, we talked about his wife, who unfortunately has passed away, was just how much he loves Davis Cup. You know, he's still that old school that playing for your country is still the greatest thing you can do. And it was just a moment where you go, where the hair starts tingling, you know, because just he's so passionate. I can see Leighton's trying to get that, and you were a part of Davis Cup with the doubles and singles. Is it starting to come back a little bit that way? It
thanks to Leighton.
Like that.
No, Leighton's trying to reinstill that passion for playing for your country and wearing the green and gold and having that number. I'm number 78, so I'm the 78th person that's represented Australia in Davis Cup, and we've had those numbers going up, and the boys at the moment playing for our team are actually tattooing their number on their bodies. Wow. It's becoming so important for them, and I think we're really lucky. We've had some amazing legends of the game. Rod Laver, Tony Roach, Kenny Rosewall, John Newcombe, Roy Emerson. I can go through, name 20 of them. Back at Indian Wells when I was playing the game, John Fitzgerald is a huge advocate of the old generation player. And we were at Indian Wells, and it was Wally Masur, John Fitzgerald, and myself sitting down at breakfast, and we knew Rod Laver was sitting at the hotel, living at the hotel, and he was coming down the breakfast in the next 10 minutes. And I remember Mark Kratzman came along, and we had a table of 4, so we had 3 seats, 1 spare. And Fitzy was planning on inviting Rod to come and sit with us, because we got down there 10 minutes early just because Rod Laver was coming down. And I remember Mark Kratzman having his breakfast and coming over and going to take the empty seat, and Fitzy goes, "Kratzy, piss off! That seat's reserved for Rod Laver." And Kratzy turns around and walks away. Like, that's how much we love the older generation of player and what they meant to us. And any time we had the chance to talk to those players, we took it, because they could impart so much knowledge and legends, and we just wanted to go on the court and emulate them. There's no chance we could ever be as good as them, but we gave it a hell of a go and gave it the best shot we had.
I asked Roachie what was the big difference between his time as playing and now, and he said the racket. The racket is the racket's the big difference?
Yeah, the string as well. Racket's a difference for sure. I would actually say the strings make a bigger difference. Players are using a polyester string now. I think you may have said that as well. And they're able to impart so much more spin on the game, and in tennis, spin means control. So if you have control of the ball, you can then open up more parts of the court, and it's made the tennis court, dimensions are exactly the same, but it's made the tennis court much bigger, because you can find angles in the court you can never used to find before.
Part 2 just finished with the Darren Cahill chat. The final one, part 3. Join us next week.